Here. Clicking the button now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Ian Hamilton here. I'm joined by Leanne Pedante. You are the head of fitness at Supernatural, correct?
Correct. Hi, it's so good to be here.
Thank you so much. I feel like we've met, even though we haven't. And I'm curious if is that a thing for you? Have you met people on the street who are recognizing you from your virtual reality fame?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I have not yet met a pure stranger on the street and have had an actual celebrity moment. But it's, I've plenty of times meet people or even meet folks that I work with, and it's my first time meeting them, whereas they tell me they have hung out with me, dozens of times already in VR. So I feel I'm a little bit of a disadvantage meeting folks.
Yeah, I kind of have that same kind of. I have this gauge in my mind for how big virtual reality is when I kind of recognize the brands from VR out in the real world. Beat Saber is they've got the big billboards in major places, and the thing that kind of blows me away with Supernatural is you're up to 13,000 people in your Facebook group now. That's a substantial community of just people who are seeking that particular group. I'm sure there's more actually going through the workouts and meeting you virtually in this one-way avenue. But it's a ton of people in that group. And how often are you in that Facebook group and seeing what people are saying in that group?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Our Facebook group is it's like a huge collection of the best people and the warmest fuzzy feelings on the internet. So I am in there multiple times a day. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of people that I interact with every day. And that's where a lot of kind of the conversation and the getting to know each other feels like it's able to happen. It's because, of course, it's more of a two-way transmission versus people doing my workouts in headset. And when we started the app, we wanted the Facebook group to be a place that was really for people to find connection and find motivation. And the way that our members have just taken that and ran with it has really been astounding. It's, for us at the company, it's one of the things I think we're proudest of is how supportive and kind the folks are in that group.
I think, I love that. And for a platform that, if you go to the top downloaded games, a lot of them are shooter games. You're fighting zombies, you're fighting other virtual humans. I think of Chris Milk, and within years ago, sort of calling this, I think he called it the empathy machine.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of on record for putting that language out there very early on. And I guess so let's go back. What did you know of VR before Supernatural? And how did you get introduced to Supernatural?
Yeah, totally. I knew nothing about about virtual reality prior to Supernatural. So I actually had a first career as a graphic designer, but it was never in virtual AR. I'm old enough that my projects were in magazine layout because print was still a big thing and paper still existed. And so then I transitioned into working in fitness. And then when I was doing that, Supernatural was testing alpha and beta, and they were looking for coaches in Los Angeles to kind of experiment with how a coach would play into what became of the app, like how that would sound, what their role would be. And so we did a bunch of tests, and I just basically wouldn't let them ditch me, and here we are almost 2 years later. Yeah.
I'm curious how that sort of coaching formed, right? It's so personal. Like I really do feel like it's kind of boggles my mind all the time when I realize how every one of the trainers in there makes me laugh, even though it's like a pre-recorded thing. it really does feel personal and like I'm there and getting coached. And I guess I'm curious, as a personal trainer, are you surprised by the impact you're having? Like,
Mm.
for traditional methods, like what is different about this VR approach to getting people working out?
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, a few things, I think that I had a mentor when I got into training and when I got into like recording workout videos. Uh, a guy named Mason Bendewald, who was really formative in me understanding that, like, the reason that a person is going to trust you with their time when they work out is largely because they feel connected or related to you in some way. And so a lot of people in the fitness industry make the mistake of taking like an authoritarian approach where I need to be the most fit person in the room and that's what qualifies me to like have this person's time and attention for an hour. But really, that's not it. You're missing a huge piece of the pie. And because virtual reality is so incredibly intimate, like you need to feel like there's another person who's complex, who has flaws and who has a history and a backstory and is like you in some way. You need to feel that in order to want to spend time with them. And so I feel like part of how we crafted the coach experience was just like making sure that on top of just being fitness professionals, you were also a real human and you could make that known to like craft a connection with the people that were on the other side. And that's really tricky. I mean, it's not a, it's not a skill set that every trainer just inherently has, because in a lot of, careers and jobs, you don't need to be good at that specific thing.
And I'm reading some of the comments here. Terry Mullins saying, "Let's go athletes." That's a
Oh,
familiar
hey,
language
Terry.
there.
Oh, yeah.
And Chesney, Smash Reality is saying, "Yep, I know that voice." And they said that they're also mentioning that you drop a lot of personal details throughout your workouts, and that's a big thing. Did you work at Hot Topic? Was that is that? It's one of the
Oh,
commenters here is bringing that
that's
up.
right. Claire's baby is Pearson Ears in Concord Mall in Delaware. One and only. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like uh in fitness too, when someone who has, muscles and like is relatively young and like has a six pack, like when I was a person who started working out, which was not that long ago, I hated sports when I was growing up. I hated athletics. I thought it was stupid. Thought I was bad at it. Um, and so for a long time, I was a person who did not feel like I should be in a gym. I didn't feel welcomed. I felt really excluded and I felt really like self conscious of my presence. So, it's very easy for me to call on like what it feels like to be a person who maybe hasn't been in a fitness space for a long time. And so, I think it's always important to remember that like there's a large possibility that the person who is joining you for this workout that maybe doesn't consider themselves an athlete yet, they're looking at your physical form and thinking, me and this person have nothing in common. Like they're looking at
Mhm.
your six pack and being like, I don't like, we couldn't be farther away. Oh, excuse me. And so it's your job is to prove them wrong, right? Because essentially we are all humans and we're like, we couldn't have more in common and we just have to find that thread.
And it's amazing to me how you're able to sort of come back to that theme throughout these workouts day after day. Is it without having that face-to-face interaction with somebody? And I'm one of those people. Like I guess I'm wondering that it is extremely uncomfortable for me to consider going to an actual physical gym, and I'm
Mm.
curious if that's if you're hearing that from the people who are using Supernatural. Is this filling a niche that needed to be filled, more or less?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 100%. And I mean, I, there's, there's still such a huge opportunity. There's still so many people that I think are waiting to be invited into the fitness space that haven't felt that
Mm.
yet. Um, But yeah, I mean, fitness is one of the biggest industries, and yet there are so many millions and billions of people who are being failed by it. Um, and so the idea that Supernatural is reaching a large amount of people who felt like they never were welcome here or they never had success here, and that we're like changing that narrative, that to me, like, I'm glad that you can't see virtual tears welling up my eyes, because it's just like that is such a life fueling thing to think about.
I,
It's really
I
wonderful.
Yeah, no, honestly, that is what really I wanted to focus in on and really get across to people, because VR does get this kind of reputation from time to time as being like for video gamers and for people
Mm.
that, uh, like I said earlier, that if you go to the top games on the platform, a lot of them are shooters, and that's such an entirely different universe from the real impact that Supernatural is having on people's lives. And I think that's one of those things that it's going to take people a couple of years to kind of catch up to the reality that this program and these personal interactions are real, and you're really changing people's lives in a really significant way. Johnny here in the comments saying, "We love you, Leanne." You have a lot of fans out there, and I do want to hear when someone actually finds you out in the real world and says the impact that they've had on that you've had on their lives. I'm really curious when we get over that threshold where, like, are we going to get to a point where VR is big enough that it's going to go, you can't go a week without kind of people coming up to you and telling you
Yeah.
the impact.
Yeah. And I want to say to what you just said of like kind of the um society at large understanding that virtual reality is not just for gamers, and that it kind of is calling in a bunch of people from different backgrounds and past. That has been something that I like needed to be educated upon. I definitely had the preconception that like we're going to make this app and it's going to be us and a bunch of video game dudes working out, which, I mean, great, but like the reality, I know more people in my life, more of my family members and friends who are between the ages of 55 and 70 who own Oculus than any other age range. And like the reality of that just continues to astonish me, because it's just so the opposite of kind of what I think a lot of people assume.
Yes, definitely. And honestly, Supernatural is the one app that my mom goes, yes,
Nice.
I want to get into VR and actually get into Supernatural, and I see it in the Facebook group again and again and
For
again.
sure.
Uh, these people looking for support, sharing their life stories and the things that they're going through, and getting this wave of encouragement to keep going. And that's actually one of the core sort of questions I have that I'm hoping that our audience will respond to, because I know a lot of them are Supernatural users out there or have thought about using it. Um, what is your top advice or tips for people to keep up with their workout? Is there anything
Mm,
that can help them keep up with it day after day? Because I guess I'm curious, like, it's hard to see that progress day in and day out. And
yeah.
what will people see after doing 2 weeks in a row of Supernatural? Will they actually start to feel the difference? And do you have any tips for them?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have at least 4 hours, right? Because I have so much to say about this. um, okay, I think one of the main components of creating something, a routine, whether it's Supernatural or really any kind of exercise that is sustainable, that you're going to stick with, huge number one thing is to pay attention to how you talk to yourself and start to allow yourself to change. I think for myself, I spent probably 4 years working out consistently while still in my own mind constantly thinking I'm not a real exercise person. I'm not a real athlete. I'm not an athlete. I like, basically not buying into the own identity shift that actually I have proof I've been working out a lot and like this is now part of my life. But being so attached to the old story of like, I'm an asthma kid, I'm a smoker, I'm an artist. I'm like none of these things that fit with this new updated version of myself.
Mm.
And when I work one-on-one with people, maybe it sounds, not as practical, but it's truly like to start a new habit, you need to kind of buy into a new belief about yourself, or else you're just going to work your way out of it. And that's one of the things that we've seen in the supernatural community is like, we lean very heavily into the belief system that like if you're showing up here, if you're moving with us, like you are an athlete. This is our sport and you are an athlete. And to watch people claim that title and then watch all of their other habits completely transform, like there's no arguing that that is a huge part of kind of what needs to happen, right?
Incredible way of thinking about identity, and sort of owning that you can change, what you own about yourself. I think there's a lot of people that feel locked in, and uh, the headset definitely allows people to try on different ideas.
100%. And I was thinking about this actually when I was preparing for our talk today, and I was thinking about creating the avatar. And I was like, I was forming exactly what I thought people would expect me to look at, right? And then I like having the realization that, wait, I mean, ultimately that's what I did. I tried to like make myself look as real as people's expectations of me. But while I was doing it, I was having this thought of like, well, isn't the whole point of virtual reality that you get to step into whoever you want to step into and like show up as whoever feels most authentic to you? And maybe that's not a person with brown hair and blue eyes and, as a female or whatever the case may be. And it was like, it, I think there's such a parallel to how people are using that in virtual reality and how people use that identity shift for the rest of their life.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm seeing Coach Doc in our comments saying, you're a real badass and warrior. Life hasn't been the same since I met Leanne.
Oh,
People talking about in other countries, sort of dying to get access to Supernatural since the licensing agreements for the music keeps it pretty, that's I'm sure that's being worked on and rolled
of
out
course.
as quickly as possible. And people recognizing your laugh, that laugh, you have a very distinctive laugh that it's infectious, and people in the comments are keying in on it, knowing that's very familiar to them. And lots of people, Tracy saying all of this is working for me,
Mm-hmm.
Terry saying those words make a difference.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I think it's incredible to me. I'm so thankful that you're able to join us today, because this is a story that
Oh my
it's
goodness. Sorry.
no, it's okay. And I apologize. Leanne went in and set up an avatar before coming in here, but she appears to have gray hands. There's some kind of a bug in our studio here where the skin tone for her hands hasn't matched the rest of her avatar here. Uh, yeah, and other people recognize that Coach Doc is here too.
Coach
So
Doc.
so how does planning out your workouts go? And do you have a particular favorite workout or song set that you return to, or you encourage people to sort of try out first?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, when when we were chatting about our talk today, you had kind of asked like, how does the workout happen and occur? And I think it's worth noting, although probably some of the folks that are here have already heard this, already know this, but a question that I hear constantly is like, when we're hearing your voice in the workout, you're not really doing the workout, are you? And I just want to make it known, we are absolutely like headset on, sweating, striking, squatting, all of that is happening. And we're just talking into the air at, our imaginary you on the other side. So when you hear our voices, we really are working out at the same time. Um, and yeah, I mean, I love a lot of music, but I am a total sucker for EDM, and like it still makes me laugh because I'm still slightly self-conscious about it, but I love dubstep. I just love dubstep, and I just have to get over it.
Yeah, I didn't actually process there that you actually are doing the workout. So that is something that you work through, and when you're sort of telling people that they need to push through this next section, you're doing it right when you say that, basically.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So we shoot the warm up and the cool down on video, of course, in a studio. That's how you see our bodies. Um, and in that same day, we immediately get geared up, strap a mic on, move through the workout, and just speak the same way that if we were teaching a class in a live studio, we'd be working out and calling out what's happening to the folks in the room.
Mm. It is so. How do I word this question? How big do you think VR workouts are going to get? I mean, do you see it becoming uh, bigger than physical gyms?
That's such a good question. I think if you had asked me in 2019, my answer would be so different than what I think now. Um, f- I I don't know, honestly. I think we are just probably only seeing the beginning because things like accessibility to Wi-Fi, price points of the hardware dropping, and really like there's so many people who don't want to go into a gym. They don't want to have to drive somewhere to do their workout. Like there's just so many reasons to bring it inside. Um, so yeah, I think we're probably only kind of seeing the beginning of this.
Hmm. Do you have any suggestions for workouts that people can do to complement what they're doing in Supernatural? Is there any easy ones?
That's a good question. Um, you know, I really like uh I really like for folks to do balance training. That's something that I haven't quite gotten super comfortable with doing. Being in headset and doing a supernatural or a VR workout does inherently help your balance a little bit because you've kind of turned off some peripheral vision. And so there's a slight level of instability. But a lot of when folks get injured, a lot of that comes from having a moment of instability where you land weird or you step on a rock and your body isn't able to kind of quickly correct. And then you sprain your ankle or you throw your knee out or whatever. And so just for kind of our whole, making life easier, I always like balance and strength and balance as a complement. Because I think it'll let you do the fun things longer.
Mm, that's really, really great advice. I'm seeing a couple comments here. VR Verdict was saying that they were 60 points under you on the leaderboard, so they had to do another workout, and they were almost late for work. And Terry commenting that the convenience of doing it at home on my schedule is an absolute game changer, and it's more
Mm,
affordable. I'm seeing multiple people talk about sort of the way people process that monthly subscription. Right? Uh, it was, I think, the first subscription service on Quest when it
yeah.
came out. And for gamers out there, the people who buy games or spend 20 or 30 or $40 for a game, it didn't process that subscription is a completely different mode. But when you do compare this to going to a gym with in some cases, with a subscription that is near impossible to cancel, um, it is a game changer for a lot of people. And when they start doing the math in their head of just how dramatically this can change their lives if they keep to it, and the convenience, it really is affecting a lot of people out there. And I think it's um, I guess I'm curious, how did you gather together these coaches? Was there a big search process, and how did you because every one of the coaches in the app are so memorable, and uh, that face-to-face interaction always feels so personal. And I guess I'm
Yeah.
curious, how hard was it to kind of get everyone acclimated to that and find the right people to suit that interaction?
That's a great question. I think second only to the Facebook community, which I probably brag about like to a level of annoyance to the folks in my life. Second only to that is how much I talk about our team at Supernatural, including our coaches. Yeah, we are based in Los Angeles, right? Which one could argue is the fitness professional mecca of the world. So there's no shortage of people who have the hard skills of being able to lead a workout. We have spent a lot of time finding folks that are specifically great at doing what we need to do in Supernatural. And right now we're a squad of 5, and that's we saw a lot of people to find these 5. I'm very proud of kind of what everyone brings. And I think, one of the magic elements of like, why does it seem like the coaches care so much about all of the people individually? It's like, oh, it's because the coaches care so much about the people individually. Like every one of the coaches like is just heartbroken open, so joyful about what we get to celebrate our members doing every single day. So, it's great that that's coming through, because that's very real.
That's awesome. And I'm looking at some of these. There's some great comments in here. Let me catch up on some of these. Lori saying, just wanted to say I love Supernatural, Leanne, and all the coaches and my Supernatural fam. Thank you. Yeah, Terry was mentioning, I can't remember if I read this comment out already, but the convenience of doing it at home on my schedule is a game changer, and it's more affordable. And then Vampy is asking, is there a way to make a dance workout in Supernatural, like really get us sweating but dancing, like swans?
I thought you meant the hardcore abstract band Swans. I was like, wow, that's going to be a tough order, like dancing swans. Yeah, I mean, Vampy, like literally not even the sky is the limit in virtual reality. We're going to do so many different things. At this point, when anyone asks me about like, do you think you're going to be able to do this in Supernatural? Do you think you're going to be able to do this? Like my answer is like, yes. And yeah, I think we will. I think we're going to try it until we figure out a way.
And I Smash Reality mentioning Coach Rainier is a character, is the way they worded it, and I cannot stop laughing. He just brings it out of me whenever I'm in one of those workouts. And people are talking about switching up between different coaches and being such a key part of the app, of being able to kind of have a different experience each time when you go in there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, Rainier is he's such a find, such a catch too, because he is truly, his two professions are as a fitness professional and as a comedian, and like he blends those things together for an experience that is just unbelievable. And he brings that same energy, to any company or department meeting we have. We are also rolling on the floor like it's wonderful.
Chesney is saying, I had so many gym memberships that I didn't use. I've used Supernatural every day for almost 300 days straight.
Yes. Oh yeah, I know Chesney. Chesney is my girl. Chesney's been crushing it for almost a year.
And Tracy here mentioning, where did that comment go? Stretching. I got so excited doing squats for the first time. I bothered my knee. I found out that I had arthritis and didn't know it. And where did the rest of the comment go? Now stretching is part of my plan to enter my new future.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Another Radical App Dev is saying, I've never been to a gym and would not even consider one, but I've been able to return to Supernatural every day. Even on off days, I'll take time for meditation just to visit the Supernatural space.
That's wonderful.
JA asking, what are the steps of making a new workout? Do you start with mapping to the music and then you work from there? That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we typically start we have an amazing kind of programming and curation team. So we start usually with the concept. And, we that what that concept is, whether it kind of focuses on a genre or if it focuses on a theme. Right now it's June, and so we have a bunch of really wonderful Pride and Ally workouts that are coming out. So we kind of start with the concept, the message, the music, then put the choreography in place, and then add the coaching experience on top of that so that it can really speak to the why behind everything that's happening.
Mm. I guess I should ask how COVID affected sort of the workflow and the ability to kind of record these. How did your work environment change over the last year?
Yeah. We were lucky for a whole host of reasons, but one of those being that our we pivoted our production process very quickly. There was a period of time where the studio was completely shut down, and we had we were doing remote recording. So I would basically bring a sound studio into my apartment, wear my headset, and remotely record with my producer over Zoom. That was not ideal, but we kept making workouts during that period. And then ever since, we've been able to kind of operate with a really small crew and just sticking to really strict protocols. And yeah, we're very lucky that lots of our team has been able to work remotely, with the exception of us folks that are just making the content in the studio.
Couple people commenting that they want more cold environments. I like that comment. The deserts mean that I'm
Ooh.
already. The deserts are mean I'm already sweating. So there's like a you feel a little bit hotter,
Yeah,
and we're going into the summer here. So
it's 100%. I can feel that. Whenever we step into a place that has a huge glacier in front of me, I feel my whole body temperature drop by like 2 degrees for sure.
We're coming up here near the end. I've gotten out all the questions I wanted to ask. I guess I'm curious if the commenters out there have any last comments or questions for Leanne. There was one comment here talking about the coaches as the first VR superstars, and I loved that comment so much because I do feel like I've got a bit of a celebrity here in our studio. We talk to developers all the time who
Mm,
are making breakthrough software and competing on the largest scale with the biggest companies to
yeah,
put competitive products out there. But there's no one that's as recognizable a face as you and the other coaches. It's like
interesting.
you're an actual personality, a person who's interacting with uh, lots and lots of athletes out there, and it's a kind of a new thing for us to have in our studio here. But I think it's a new thing to have in VR in general. Where uh, I guess I'm curious, like, do you feel the impact you're having? Yes, you've got the Facebook group, and yes, some people reach out to you, but is it is it still kind of like out of your reach, understanding the
Yeah,
impact you're having?
totally. Yes, that's a great yes. And the answer is yes. I mean, I think that there's only there's a limit to how much you can um, you receive a direct message or a Facebook message or a comment from someone saying that you changed their life, and of course you believe them and it feels very real, but I think it's hard for the coaches to understand the full scope and scale of that, um, because I don't know why exactly. It's just, if I compare it to teaching in real life, it's like if you teach a class of 30 people, you have this instant feedback on their faces from their body language of what went well, what resonated with people, what they didn't like. You get that instant feedback. Whereas with Supernatural, if a workout really impacts someone, I might not hear about it for weeks and weeks. And so there's a bit of a disconnect to kind of how quickly you're receiving that. Um, and I'd also say that, like, I hope and I think that we'll probably bridge that gap a little bit in the next year and coming years, because I think that, in-person meetups and live events are going to slowly make their way back as it's safe. And like, I at least for a number of our Supernatural members and all of the coaches, like, we can't wait to like be in a room and also partying with everybody. So very much looking forward to that day also.
Well, I am. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think I'm going to wrap up the interview here. I wanted to say, if you're interested in sort of sharing this interview with others, you can talk to most of the virtual assistants out there and say, play the VR download to your Siri, your Google, your Alexa. Should be able to pull up our podcast, and this podcast will go out to different platforms. I want to extend an invitation to you to come back anytime you want, and the other coaches. I think
Yeah.
I think we're still, like you said earlier, at kind of the early stages of this, and even Facebook and other VR companies, I think, are waking up to just how good a fit exercise and working out in VR is. There's lots of, you got to sweat inside your headset, and if you can accept sweating inside your headset, you can do a lot
Yeah.
just in your own home, in your space. So
100%.
I would love to have you back, and thank you so much for joining us. And as soon as I would love to get multiple coaches in here, because if we can get more people in here that are Supernatural fans, I know they're dying with questions out there, and that interaction that you have in Supernatural is such a one-way thing. I know they're going to want to talk to you more and give you
Totally. Oh,
feedback
yeah.
and tell you how
Oh,
they're
yeah.
changing their lives.
This was great. Thank you so much for having me. We'd absolutely love to come back anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so we'll wrap this up. And thank you. We've got one of the first VR superstars here, a celebrity in recorded space, and making
I'm
a
gonna
huge
play a
impact out there.
recording of you calling me a celebrity to my dad. That's like literally his dream, and I'm just gonna loop that and send it to him for Christmas. So thank you.
It's absolutely true, because we're such. I try to explain to my family how big VR is going to be, or I've been at this for years,
Right.
sort of. There's cords, there's cameras you have to set up around your room, there's a PC you have to have there. All
Sure.
that's gone away,
Yeah.
and now we need the great applications that keep people coming back to their headsets, and Supernatural is absolutely one of those applications that gets people in there and gives people a reason to buy their headset. And I can't think of anyone that would be more recognizable face to a lot of these people out there in our comments, that just, you're changing their lives. And so it's everyone in the comments is very happy to have heard from you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.